Himself gonna be eating a shock dart, but he's able to makes it
win anything. Sam, defend your team because they haven't won.
Oh my God!
Strap yourselves in, it's another 1 hour episode.
Oh yeah.
Spike defused.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Press Forward to Defuse, your spot for Valorant esports news and discussion. I'm one of your hosts, Starf Mike, joined by the usual suspects here. We got Ryan and Sam rocking it on the mics with me today. How are we all feeling today? Sam, how are you feeling today?
Pretty excited. You know, I never get tired of that intro video where you tell me to defend my team, and now they're kicking it old school and just like annihilating kids and slapping them around in the finals. So that makes me really happy and looking forward to this episode where I get to talk about them more.
Oh boy. Ryan, how you doing?
Yeah, speaking of the intro, it's like Monkey's Paw, where we were lamenting that there wasn't any European tournaments, and now there's just too much. There is way too much Valorant going on at the moment. Literally watching VODs before this, now going to watch VODs afterwards. Lots to catch up on.
Welcome to the NA problem, where it just feels like there's always somebody playing, every team's always playing. Oh, we are, it's a good problem to have. It's a better problem to have than being like, we haven't seen this team in 3 months because they haven't qualified. So, you know, not the worst change in the world. Let's launch into our Run It Back segment. This is the segment where we break down some of the news from the last week. There honestly wasn't nearly as many roster moves as we usually get. This is the first big one. Huynh is out of Gen.G. Gen.G are making some changes. Huynh has been benched from the roster, and they're looking for new possibilities. What do we make of this one, Ryan?
I mean, it's tough. Another one that we actually missed is like Nature not being on Immortals anymore. And I feel like right now, when roster moves come in, I said this yesterday on Valoranting, considering you have like the ESIC report kind of looming over these players, and I'm not necessarily saying that Huynh or Nature is indicted in those kind of accusations, it's still, the timing is a little bit ominous, I would say. And considering that Huynh was never like a problematic player, was he always insane on the AWP and the Jet? Not really, but he's not the kind of player that you drop for not performing.
I'm just gonna say right now, that's not it. That wasn't their justification. I've talked to MC about it. It was that they wanted to move in a different direction from a performance perspective. Didn't have anything to do with the ESIC, as far as I'm aware.
I also want to say with like Nature as well, because it seemed that he was leaving for personal reasons. First of all, I hope he's okay. You don't want it to be like a Nisal situation where it's like, oh, you kind of try and put two and two together and it ends up looking a bit worse than it is. But yeah, like overall, so long as the players are happy as best as they can be and everything's okay in their home life, you can't really say too much else, I guess.
He's also not a CS guy. So if he's implicated in the ESIC reports, that would be surprising because I don't think he played or competed in CS at any level that I'm aware of. It's possible he was like an advanced guy, but even then I'd be shocked if he had the opportunity to throw a game anyone cared about. Sorry, he's literally not a CS guy.
You can't help it.
Sam,
what's one ESL event and that's it.
Sam, what do you make of it?
I think it's kind of sad. He's been kind of a staple player for quite some time. I mean, that's one of the names that I remember for going back quite a while. I didn't particularly see any issues with his play, but I suppose that there's more that goes into consideration around a team than just how well are you mechanically, right? There's a lot of different factors. How well are you synergizing with the team? Are you able to fit with the direction that the team is going to in terms of what play style they want to go with? There's a lot of different factors, and for whatever reason, he's out. I don't think he'll struggle to find a new home, so I'm kind of banking on that for a little bit. What I will say is I'm interested to see what direction Gen.G are going to go in because they'd been looking pretty good up until this point, but it felt like they kind of hit a wall, not a very big wall, but a little bit of a wall, and they needed to push back. So I want to see what kind of reinforcements they bring to help them kind of get over that hurdle and keep up the momentum.
So here's my understanding of what's going on in that team, and most of this comes from chatting with MC, who I've known for a while now. The expectation for that team is that they want to be the best in Valorant, or they want to be in the conversation to be the best in Valorant. They want to be the top in NA, certainly, if not the world, right? That's what they're aiming for. That's the objective. They don't want to be top 10. They don't want to be top 8. They want to be top 3. And in that conversation to always be winning a tournament. And the team as it stands right now wasn't in that conversation. They were in the conversation of they're really good. We expect them to qualify to everything. Like it's a surprise that they're not in Challengers Finals, but no one was really looking at them to be Sentinels. No one was really looking at them to be 100 Thieves right now. Like, they were on that path maybe, but the pressure is to make a team that can compete at the top. So changes needed to come through, and Huynh was the first target of that. And he's not necessarily the last either, is the thing. Based on my understanding, it's a matter of they need to continue to improve and get better. And also my understanding is that this is MCE's project. You know, they're putting their faith in him. He's making the calls. He's picking. He's scouting and figuring out who they're picking up. Like, they've got a scouting department as well and a GM, but ultimately it is MCE's team, which I like. Big fan of Coach Power in games. Huynh is a solid player. He absolutely is a solid player. And even in talking about it, like, they could be a perennial top 8 team with this roster. I don't think any issue. The problem is that they're aiming to be the best of the best. And so they're going to look and go out and try and acquire someone to help push them over the edge. This isn't anything that I've been leaked to, but one of the things I want to say is, because MC is head of this project, keep an eye out for former Chaos members from Counter-Strike. Them competing in CS right now would be players like Vanity, Zeppa, Leaf. These are going to be targets. Do I think they're going to be the targets that he can attain? No, but I'm sure Matt's sending out some messages and seeing, hey, is Cloud9 going to keep Zeppa as a 6th? Is he potentially
putting
available?
the band back together, yeah.
Oof. That was actually, Ryan, you were just busy saying it, but I'd heard this as well, potentially dicey. I don't know if I lean that way, but it was also another speculation that had been thrown around, so potential there.
I could see that. Who knows? Maybe they'll just buy out 10s. You laugh.
Anybody got $15 million?
You laugh. They want to be the best. They want to be the best. That's the kind of swing you take if you want to be the best. And they've got the money, I believe.
Like no one ever was.
Yeah, I was going to say, from
Catch
a
'em all.
financial standpoint, where are Gen.G? Are they the kind of like big money kind of org, or are they just sort of middle of the pack?
They own an Overwatch team, right? Soul Dynasty, so that takes serious financial backing. They, I think, have interest in the LCS, LCK, right? I'm not big on League of Legends stuff, so I'm not as aware of their involvement there. They've got serious VC money behind them, as many esports orgs do, but I think they're taking a really big swing at wanting to be one of the best teams in Valorant, and specifically wanting to be one of the teams where, when franchising comes around, they're getting the spot. You know what I mean? Like, they don't want it to be, oh, they were kind of pissing around, wasting their time building this roster. They want it to be that if they're not included whenever that franchising conversation comes around, it's an obvious mistake, right? Like, they're going to be one of the first teams that you come to. So is buying 10s a sound financial decision? Who knows? But like, it's that kind of department of like, they want to win, and they're going to take the steps to win. And that's the objective. We'll hop across the pond for this one. Talk about G2, another team that really wants to win, another team that's not shy about spending money and throwing out the big bucks to make that a possibility. Reported making some really big changes. According to a report by Nell, Mixwell and Pith's spots are safe and no one else's are. And they're apparently targeting players on Heretics and Ascend, trying to poach them and build a roster out of it. What do we make of this, Sam?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is, again, this is assuming that this is true, obviously. It comes as no surprise that Heretics do not want to sell those two players, because it's a Vova and Nukia, who are incredible players in their own right. So yeah, I can 100% see Heretics going, I don't think I will. Unless, of course, we see just some really, really fat stacks get thrown at them, and they just, make them an offer you can't refuse, potentially. I was a little surprised to see Ardis, and so with chatting with a couple of people, there's actually been some mixed opinions on him. So some people kind of feel he's in the washed camp, and some still feel like he does some really fantastic plays and is a really good asset to the team. I personally was really surprised to see him on the potential ejection list. The Mixwell staying was surprising because of something that Anders just noted in the chat. So he brought up a little while ago that he thinks there's going to be like a major jet purge because of reasons and just better agents and so on. And because of that, it's interesting to know that they're keeping Mixwell. And I wonder how much of it, because he is a fantastic player mechanically in his own right, but I wonder how much of it is just his brand and how much that brings to the G2 organization.
Ryan?
Yeah, so speaking of Anders, I know that this is the kind of thing that he would say, so I'll do my best impression.
Okay.
So the idea is that they would be keeping Piff and Mixwell and dropping Ardis, Zeke, and Patitek. They'd be dropping their own players, is kind of like my Anders impression. Like, I know that like Mixwell's a bit of an interesting sort of talking point because he's great for G2 and stuff, but when you look at other jet oppers in the region, we've not seen as much from Mixwell. I think he does not necessarily get the same level of criticism as he would do if he was a North American player, for example. When you look at players like Huynh being dropped, I think that Mixwell's kind of on that same level. The main thing is that they're bringing in potentially Coldamenta as well as an IGL from Ascend, so they want to make this pretty much full Spanish roster, including Piff. So clearly, it might be a thing to do with all of the languages and all of the having international players or regional European players, at least, in this roster. I just want to see them stick with something. They looked better when they had Aussie on their team. Buy out Aussie, bench Zeke, or try and sell Zeke somewhere else, and play with that for a stage at this point, right? Stop trying to throw your money around and implode the roster when you get no sense of consistency. It's the exact same thing that's happening with TSM. The exact same thing where it's like, it's gone to shit, it didn't work. Let's just do something drastically different and hope that works. But you don't get any sense of improvement. You don't look at FPX. They didn't do that. They dropped one player, brought another one in, and then they gradually got better across their fundamentals as time went on. G2, it's just, didn't work, let's play with a Sky. Didn't work, let's play with Aussie. Didn't work, let's just buy free players again. It's just kind of getting boring.
Counterpoint, 100 Thieves. Who literally axed their entire roster and kept one player and then rebuild from there, or Fnatic, as you said. Like, sometimes you got to do it. And I think for G2, it's not a case of like they've been kind of handpicking one at a time, swapping people out, trying to. It's like this is the first time we've seen a sub, and they've realized after a year of having the same team and not maintaining the position that they've had all along, it's like, well, we got to do something. We axed the whole thing.
I almost feel
feels like a trigger. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I almost feel like this is the reverse Fnatic, right? Where Fnatic went, okay, we've got the structure, we've got the pieces, we need the firepower. Let's go get some firepower. And this is like, we've got the firepower, we need everything else. Get us the structure, get us the pieces, and we'll plug the firepower into that. I was
just going to say, like, when you look at, like, with Aussie being in the roster, look at how all of the other players played on that team. Ardis looked a lot stronger, but Piff, who has been clearly like the obvious one that people have gone, he's not performing, drop him. And even Patitek being on the Reyna, you saw a glow up from them individually to the point that they were all fragging out. If you get 5, MVP frag-centric players, at least one of them or maybe 2 of them have to rein it back a bit to be more supportive. You look at Zeta for Cloud9. You look at Shadow for FPX. Some player needs to kind of be the bigger man and kind of go, I'm going to play the Omen, I'm going to play the Sky, I'm going to sit back and set up my team more. G2, everybody's trying to be the fragger, therefore nobody's the fragger and nothing's getting done. At least Aussie kind of fills that role, and then Patitek can be left off the reins a little bit because Aussie is always backing him up. That's what G2's missing. Getting these players, I think, doesn't make a difference.
But we'll have to see if they can get these players. I personally, look, I beyond the actual team structure of what they wind up with, I kind of love the fact that they're just going to throw money around and try and build this roster. I don't mind it. It'd be kind of cool to see them trying to pull together a super team. And you built the roster around Mixwell. He's the tentpole that you constructed on. I can understand the reticence to move him or to change him out. Also, I think he and Ocelot are kind of boys at this point. Ocelot's Spanish, right? I mean, there's got to be at least a little degree of attachment there.
Yeah.
I think the Org is technically Spanish, yeah.
Yeah.
So if they could come up with a Spanish roster, and it does look like the Spanish talent in Valorant might be the way to go, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool for them.
G2.
We'll see. We're going to move on. Honestly, there weren't that many roster leaks and news this week, which is like the first week we've been able to say that since, I don't know, November.
Slow news week.
So
after this weekend, it's going to be manic. I'm telling you. I think that May is going to be like League of Legends level of roster mania, because some teams, like if you're TSM or G2, you have 0 points. You need to win Masters 3 to basically qualify now for the Champions event at the end of the year. So if you're these teams, screw it. Spend all that money, put together a monster team, maybe work towards 2022 to an extent. So yeah, like I think it's going to get manic from next week going onwards.
Sounds good. Speaking of the VCT, we got some Challengers 2 content to talk about. We got a little video to take us through this, but we're going to talk about the NA Challengers 2. Just happened. Sentinels, Cloud9 Blue, NRG, and Box make it through to the Challengers Finals. Those are our 4 teams here. Some surprises, I think. First, let's talk about Sentinels. We expected them to make it through. We maybe didn't expect them to get knocked down in the first round by Handbox and then complete a lower bracket run to win the whole dang thing. Classic Sentinels, though. Classic Sentinels.
Yeah.
I saw your finger go up, Ryan. Talk to me about it.
I was just gonna say, I did say in the pre-show that like it can definitely happen, and it did.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like just Sam in a conversation that said like you could probably just take this on head on, Sam, because you said it best. Like it's getting really difficult to say different things about Sentinels because it seems that we see the same tournament play out for them each time, down to lose this bracket, win it from then on. I don't get how they can do it.
I actually made a fun comparison during one of the pre-shows, which you clearly didn't watch, Ryan. But it's like when you're filling out your resume for a job interview, for like your first interview, and you're putting all of these like BS skills that you have because you think it looks good. It's like, I'm good at mediating, I have good people skills, and it's I work well under pressure. And that's kind of what Sentinels has been going with. They've been slapping that on their resume for the last couple of months.
Do you think they should adjust that to I only work well under pressure?
I only function under pressure.
As soon as the pressure comes off, they're like, meh. No, I wonder whether... I was trying to think about where I'm going to take this. I guess my thing is they've clearly got a winner's mentality of like once the pressure's on, once their backs are to the wall, they're amazing. They're phenomenal. They're so good on an individual level and as a team. But they don't always bring that same level to every game. And you kind of wonder whether the fact that they still don't have a coach, still don't have like support staff in that facet might be an aspect of like maybe some inconsistency in mentality. It's tough to criticize them. They just win everything, right? Like, it doesn't matter if they keep winning everything. I guess we'll find out if they make it to Iceland. Like, I find it difficult to be too upset with anything they do, including going down to lower bracket, because if it keeps working for them, it keeps working for them. They might get into hot water and into trouble with it later down the line, but you know what? Keep the band rolling as long as it can. I don't know that there's anyone else got anything to talk about Sentinels before we move on to the rest of the crew.
No, it's literally copy-paste from every other tournament.
Which basically includes like the MVP of the week, which was Sick, right? Yeah. Again, another just insane performance from him. You can't buy that kind of mentality, though, being able to go down to the losers bracket and do well. It does make me think of like with Europe, because it is single elimination. If there's any teams that are actually much better than we anticipate, because they only get that one chance of like losing it out. So that's kind of like, you know, you look at NIP or BDS, would they have qualified and done better if they were in a double elimination tournament? It's food for thought for sure in some of these other regions.
Speaking of our MVP, this is our Press 4 MVP of the event. It is Sick. We're going to go ahead and roll a little video to show you what he did this past weekend.
It was sick.
Ha!
Sick up top. It's the first. Gets the second as well.
My God. It's all about the game sense. Wall for wall, we go up top, but Sick still finds two.
Timing could still be favorable. Sick pushes through, finds one. He's gonna grab a second. But still, Cloud9 on their way forward. It's Sick for three in the corner. Now it's just up to Sick to make his way through, running and gunning. Turns it into a 1v1. Gonna get this to at least halfway. Backs up, finds the elimination. Sick will clutch.
What do you make of Sick, Sam?
Sick is someone that has been impressing me for months now. And it kind of comes from I'm going to call it the era of kind of ignoring all supportive agents, and when everybody was just losing their minds about sick jet ops and crazy raise blast packs and showstopper kills. And I was quietly watching Sick in the background. He was one of those kind of Sentinel players that I always had my eye on. And of course, he's not playing that role exclusively anymore. We actually saw in the MVP video, he really off-rolls a lot now, so it shows his diversity as well. He's always been a player that stood out to me. And I think I said this a few episodes ago, but I love that he is getting the recognition that he deserves at last. That he's really showing up for his team. The fact that he's able to swap onto all of these different roles so seamlessly means that he's getting so much value. He's allowing the rest of his team to also do what they need to do. He's playing that supportive role in the best possible way. So I'm super stoked for this this guy, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from him.
One person, not our MVP, but I think is actually kind of impressive, is how well Zombs has adapted to rolling all the different smokes. You got Viper coming out, you got Astra coming out a lot, you got Omen still coming out. I think that's pretty neat. It's good versatility. Speaking of versatility from Sick, good versatility in general for Sentinels going forward, which I think is just, I mean, as we're seeing with Astra redefining the meta and the way pros play right now, as this game moves on, as each new agent gets integrated, versatility is going to be the key word. If you are not adaptable, if you're stuck on a one trick, you're going to be out of a job. It's just kind of become increasingly apparent here.
Yeah.
Jet
things.
We'll move on down. I want to talk about a team that you guys know I like to talk about, especially since their most recent addition. Cloud9 Blue! Cloud9 Blue made it through the upper bracket, got mollywomped in the final. What do we make of Cloud9 Blue here, Ryan?
I'm super happy to see them actually qualified. They only dropped maps to Sentinels in the final, which is fair enough, really. I do think that when you look at the pedigree of teams overall, missing FaZe, missing Gen.G, you can kind of say that they were looking like one of the stronger lineups when you have Ambox in there, BBG and NRG as well, which are big question marks. I said this before, Cloud9 Blue look like they're not missing 10s anymore, which is a huge loss for them, but I think they've done a really good job at recuperating and putting together a fresh new roster that isn't kind of like the 10s and friends leftovers. You look at T1, you see all of the kind of roster moves with Brax and AZK leaving, all the controversy with all that kind of stuff. You just see it in their play, just because some of the players are kind of from different eras of it. Cloud9 Blue look like a fully fledged new thing that's coming through, and I can't wait to see more of it. A little bit concerned about the 6-man situation with Mix and Zeppa, but we'll have to see how it works out for Mitch.
Sam?
I am gravely disappointed that they ruined my last shot at having good predictions for this tournament. But I'm really impressed with how well they've done. If somebody had told me 2 weeks ago they were going to be in the grand final playing against Sentinels, I would have been like, what universe do you live in? And I will say that I am pleasantly surprised. These shakeups are exactly what these tournaments need. And that being said, it's not like there's any shortage of shakeups, either in NA or EU, but no one was really expecting it from C9. The addition of Floppy, we kind of talked about this in the pre-shows as well. While he hasn't been that kind of amazing fragging out top of the scoreboard player, he's still performing well with the rest of the team. He's keeping pace. He's being a good supportive player. And I kind of likened him a little bit to Ethan, where I've said that give him a little bit of time and he's going to be exceptional. And this is really exciting for C9 because if they're at this point while he's still kind of new and wet behind the ears, once he gets to that point, I think this roster is going to be terrifying.
Yeah, I'm going to build on that point exactly, which is the fact that the fact that Floppy was bottom of the board in so many games is the most encouraging factor for them. Because if they can win with Floppy not playing a central role, well, once he starts to emerge, they're going to be better. They're going to be better. And I promise you he's going to get better. And I promise you he's going to morph into a role where he is top of the board, where you expect him to be the powerhouse for this team. Because I've watched him play for years in Counter-Strike, and I know this is his next level. He is phenomenal mechanically as a player. He's only going to get better here in Valorant. So watch out, world. Cloud9 Blue, they made it to the finals of this, Challengers 2. They qualified to Challengers Finals, and they're only getting better. They're only getting better. Whether they work Zeppa into the roster or whether they find out that, hey, pretty happy with this 5, maybe Zeppa gets moved over to another team, which I'm sure there's plenty that'll have him. Cough Gen.G.
Yeah, like they'll want him a lot.
They'll be fine. I'm really excited by this team. I don't know if they're going to win and make it to Reykjavik at this point. Maybe. But they look good. We'll talk about that a little later. Moving through the others, I think Anbox was really exciting as well. I know that there was some groundswell around them, and we talked about this in the pre-shows a little bit, where pros who had been scrimming them were like, this team could get pretty interesting. But holy cow, they're really dang good. I mean, they beat Sentinels in the first round. They made it through to the event. Like, this is such a good showing for Anbox. How about that, Sam?
That blew me out of the water entirely. Like, if C9 was surprising, Anbox was just something else entirely. This was a team who, and it's something that I had noted previously as well, where they kind of, they qualify for something, and then they get knocked to the lower bracket in the first round, and they get knocked out in the first round of the lower bracket. And that had kind of been their story, much like the Sentinels have the lower bracket hero run. Anbox's story was just getting knocked out straight after qualifying. This time, however, they kicked it up a notch, and in a very, very impressive fashion. I was really impressed with how they played. They had some standout performances from a lot of those players as well, players that had stepped up, that had been playing well previously, but again, had kind of just really hit the gas in this tournament. I loved how they seem to have kind of adapted their playstyle a little bit as well. It didn't feel like the same Andbox we've been seeing over and over again. There's clearly work being put into this team to ensure that they are improving and that they can compete with their peers. And they're doing a phenomenal job. I'm looking forward to seeing how they continue on this streak.
All right. And then, Ryan, you got anything to say about Andbox, or can I talk about NRG?
We could talk about NRG. I just wanted to say that Mada, like, I wasn't a big fan of Mada, I suppose, on Equinox, like on the Silver mostly. But I do think he was an Equinox, right?
No, I don't think so.
No, I'm thinking of Mina, I think.
Tex was on Equinox. Mina was on Equinox.
Mada was on Luminosity.
That was it, yeah. I was never sort of a big... Is he? I feel like we're getting this wrong.
I think he was on Luminosity. I'm pulling up his Wikipedia right now. I'm trying to remember who he competed with. He did play with Luminosity.
I'm on his
You're absolutely
Wikipedia right now.
Oh, yeah.
You're absolutely right. It was just back in November in our memories.
It was first strike,
it was a while ago,
It was before Luminosity had their glow up with Moose and stuff. But, like, playing the Phoenix, he was really good. Like, insane performance from him, and excited to see more of him. And Vice, who played really well, too.
Seb and Ye, those were my boys for the tournament. They did so much.
I love Seb. I just love Seb as a human being. He's someone who I've met at a couple tournaments, and he's just a nice dude.
I love how Mike just name drops every player in
They're
every
all the
episode.
NACS people.
Yeah, I met this kid.
They're all the NACS people.
Well, that's just NA Valorant.
I knew this kid when he
all
was
of
in
NA
diapers.
Valorant is the NACS team.
Yeah, I know. But if you want to know my true bias as a caster and as a commentator, it's there was one event back in CS. I think I may have told you guys about it before. It's called the Rank S Combine. It was an ESEA event where they took a bunch of people from the PUG system and just invited people out to Vegas for a weekend and had like draft style teams where we had established pros like Nothing and Shungaras, and Hazed was actually one of them, and Skadoodle, and they drafted from among those puggers, and we played a tournament, and it was awesome, and it was just fun, and there weren't like, we were in a suite in Vegas chilling. Seb was one of those people. So if you were at that event, I'm biased towards you. It was so much fun that I just have a warm place in my heart for all of those players. So that's my that is my 100% bias, and so I'll just wear that on my sleeve. But it's a weird one, right? It's a very weirdly specific one.
Yes.
But yeah, let's talk about NRG. I'm going to be honest. My prime point about NRG is looking at this bracket ahead of time. This is kind of where I expected them to be. They kind of lived up exactly to expectations. I think anything other than qualifying, considering the teams that were in this, would have been hugely disappointing. They look solid. I don't know that they look world beating yet. What do we make of the health of this roster, Ryan?
Well, Daps had a really good performance, certainly in their game against Immortals, which, you know, Immortals not qualifying is pretty insane, really, when you look at it. I think the only bad thing is Tex. The way that people talk about Tex now is really weird, because they just flat out assume that he's match fixing at this point. You see like Reddit threads where it's like, Tex is so good. What a shame. And it's just like, come on,
God.
Can we just like wait and not get ahead of ourselves and go full judge, jury, executioner and that kind of thing? Like if that's what happens, fair enough. But it's one of those things where this NRG team on paper looks great. Individual form is solid, but there's always something in the background that just kind of makes you a bit like, I'm not too sure about this team. And that's kind of my thoughts going into the Challengers Finals as well. Like, they could qualify, but I don't think they will. They're kind of one of those murky teams, kind of like version 1 right now, where they could perform really well, get third place like Gen.G did in Masters 1. But this time, I do not know with this team. It's beyond me.
Sam?
I think the most important thing for any player and any team, and I think, like, pretty sure, it's consistency. Like, you can be the best team in the world today, but if you are like trash tier tomorrow, it means nothing. You have to maintain consistency. So the players on NRG all have fantastic moments. Some of the players that I highlighted on the pre-show desks were like Tex and EU and Som, and how they've been playing together. And obviously Android has been a big name as well. He's really been showing up. And then of course there's Daps as well, who also did some fantastic work. So each of these players individually are great, but they're not terribly consistent. And I think that's where NRG's biggest problem lies right now. So we're coming into a place where you have to be consistent over the course of this entire upcoming weekend, or you are not going to Iceland. And it's about, can they be consistent for the whole weekend? And I'm not sure they can. We haven't gotten to predictions yet, but spoiler alert, I don't think they qualify. Although only 2 can, so you know.
I do like this iteration of the roster where we seem to be getting battle daps way more often. It's just daps killing everybody. Which is just a funny evolution for him. But we will move on here. We're gonna talk about that later. But as always, we're running into our time, so I'll go ahead and shuffle us on down. Let's head on over to Europe, where there's a tournament mid-throw, EMEA Finals. It's actually not even Europe and CIS and Turkey and everything's mashed together. But it feels like it's Europe now because EU just stomped everybody, and Turkey and the CIS region kind of just. How are we feeling about the health of regions not named Europe in this event, Ryan?
I mean, I think Sam had a good point when it comes to like the Turkey team. So I think that
Sam, take it.
Yes, take it, Sam. Because one thing that I want to say about Gambit, I think Gambit have been trashed way too hard, and they're way too good for people to say that they're not performing. Go on, Sam.
All right. So my thing was that it has a lot to do with meta and playstyle differences. So one of the big things, and if you even watch the interviews during the actual like games or before the games, Yinsu has done some fantastic interviews with a bunch of the coaches and players. And a lot of the teams say themselves, like they didn't have time to practice Astra, for example. So they just flat out didn't. And that's a massive disadvantage coming into the EU teams who have been like, okay, we have a whole week to learn Astra. We got to kick it into high gear. So EU is trying to get into that more relevant quote-unquote meta, whereas the Turkey and CIS teams kind of shied away from it a little bit because they didn't want to kind of half-ass it, I suppose is the best way to say it. And then when you look at playstyle, again, when you watch those interviews, you hear them say it, and then you watch them play and you go, by God, they're right. The Turkish playstyle is very run and gun. It's like if they could have 5 duelists on a team, they would. It's just run out, peek, swing, shoot, Ferraris everywhere, and very little actual like tactical depth, I suppose. Whereas the EU teams are trying to lean into that a little bit more. They try to swap up their pacing. They try to think about how they're going to attack each site. They fake. They don't necessarily always run in. Sometimes they do, you know, they want to swap things up a little bit, but it's not like a solid strategy of we're just going to keep running onto site and see how many people we can kill. And it was relatively easy for the European teams to stop that because they aim to be more diverse in their play style. So it really did come down to, I'm not saying that the Turkish and CIS teams are bad by any measure. They are phenomenal and they're so much fun to watch. But because of these slight differences in approach to the game and approach to the meta, they were just kind of the underdogs coming into the tournament.
And they got bounced. Ryan, cosign?
Yep.
The funny thing about it is that Oxygen, who is the last surviving Turkish team, brought out the Astra. And I feel that when Fublist were playing in that elimination game, they were sat there going, you son of a bitch. Like, we all agreed that we weren't going to play the meta. We were going to play our old stuff. And then Oxygen's just like, Astra. And they're like, crap, what are we going to do? They just didn't have a plan for it. And, you know, Fublist were a team that people considered to be a favorite going into this. But when you look at the new agent coming in, that some would argue is very, very strong and maybe should be nerfed, and then this new, like, Viper meta coming on, they just looked so far behind and everybody else looked a lot more consistent. I detest the fact that Gambit has been thrown in with this playstyle, though, because they lost to FPX, who are quite frankly, the favorites to not only qualify but to maybe win Masters too at this point, considering how a bit inconsistent North America's looking right now with teams like Sentinels and 100 Thieves. They lost in pretty good fashion. You know, they had a 9-3 first half. They're just defensive shit. That's the only way to really describe it for Gambit. But they absolutely bounced BBL. And I think that they're going to do a similar job to Liquid in their game as well. If we see FPX winning Liquid and stuff, I just think that those two teams are the ones that are going to qualify. And even a Guild are looking better. Fnatic is looking amazing right now. They could be in there too. Mm-hmm. I don't think the Guild and Oxygen and certainly Liquid, they pale in comparison to these three teams. So it's going to be interesting, these like semi-final games.
Again,
but Gambit is cracked. Gambit is just an insane team, and people should pay attention to them more, is my point. It angers me so much.
Yeah.
This is again brutal format though.
Yeah.
You've got 8 teams. Why don't you just run a double elimination bracket? I don't understand.
Honestly, just EU things. I don't know.
I don't know why we're running this group stage into a single elim playoff. But it is what it is. It is what it is in that regard.
Better than just single elim.
True. It's
I'll
better.
take it. I'll take it.
We're getting there. We're getting to a viable tournament structure here. It's just like, come on, guys. We have the bracket in A. Just copy it. Copy our homework. We won't mind.
Copy paste.
We won't mind. Just run the tournament the same way. All right. Let's wrap up our thoughts here on the EMEA event. It's still happening, so obviously we can't give conclusive thoughts on this. The games start tomorrow again. 2 teams go through. Do we want to do our just preds on who's going to go through? Should we throw it down based on who's still in?
Ooh.
Yeah, Sam, you got a 2. I know Ryan's thinking about
I'm
it
gonna
too right
go.
now.
So FPX is solid 100% in, and I would not be me if I didn't stand my team. So FPX Guild, let's go.
Now that requires.
I don't know how realistic that is.
All right,
but
if we're assuming that FPX beats Liquid, because I'm kind of assuming that. I guess
I
could
think that's
go
a
wrong.
fair assessment.
That also requires that Guild beats Fnatic. Otherwise, they'd be matched up
I
in the
think
first
it's
round.
possible. It's going to be difficult as all hell. Do not get me wrong. But I think it's possible.
See, that's the funny part to me in this is if you make it out second of your group, you're going against who's first in the next group, and there's no more double elim. So it's like, all right,
Yep.
it really matters to win that
Good
upper
luck,
bracket
have fun.
matchup. Ryan, who you got?
Yep.
Yeah, I've got FPX and Gambit. I do think the Fnatic has a shot. They've hit momentum at the perfect time, and they look so good. But I still think it's just early days. I want to see a bit more of them and sort of see them lose and how they respond from that and, fix some of the issues that they might have. But I just think the Gambit is still a bit of a dark horse that could do really well at Masters 2.
I just saw someone in chat say, "Where is G2?" Not qualified. we talked about
Nowhere
G2 earlier
near.
on. They're completely restructuring their team. It
just
seems.
got smacked. It's like, where is TSM? Same place as G2.
Well, at least
In
TSM
the-
made it to this last dance and then got eliminated. But I mean, they're not making it to the finals, which is the equivalent of. So, yeah. Same thing. Oh, excuse me.
Ooh, bless
That one
you,
snuck
my
up on
child.
me. I hope I didn't get too
And
much of that
everyone
straight into
that
the
can't
microphone.
swim.
That's fine. We're fine,
Everybody,
folks.
hope you're wearing a mask.
We're fine. Yeah, right. Alone in my room. Time to put up.
That was explosive enough to infect
going
the
right
entire
here.
internet. I'm not.
It matches my shirt. Wow, this mask actually
It
really
does,
matches
what?
my shirt. That's perfect. I'm glad this is the
That's
one that I
fashion.
close at hand.
Very nice.
On point. Style on point. All right.
Anyway,
My 2, I'm just going to
Tangents.
say FPX Fnatic. We're going to move on because time, always an issue. Sliding on past. One last thing to mention. I know there was a controversy going around where it seemed like for some reason the second team that qualified out of this would get more circuit points than the first team to qualify out of this. That's been rectified.
yeah,
The 2
weird.
teams who qualify will be making it through, but don't get any circuit points from qualifying. They'll get a minimum of 150 for making it to Reykjavik.
Yeah.
We can flash that on screen if we've got it, but it's not really a concern anymore. We were going to rant about it, and then it got fixed.
Yeah. Just a fun, half a second thing, because somebody in chat reminded me, Yoru got played this week in EU and NA, so this is super exciting. Looking forward to seeing if they actually implement him more, but it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Heading on, we're going to talk about the NSG Monthly real quick. I think we got a little
Ooh.
recap video. Do we want to roll the recap video? Roll the recap video? Roll it?
Let's go.
Roll it.
Hell yeah.
Cairo. Inch. Yeah, this is actually beautiful. Cairo, the timing with the catwalk push as you were talking about was really perfect right there. The aggressive ultimate's coming in, and Cairo gets a 4th on Dizzy. The ace is in hand.
So he's dual stage at this point.
Okay, and I think I saw it coming out. Yep, he's gonna use it. Oh, not Mina. Dizzy had a great angle from the rest of them. Zambi finds a 3rd. Ends up killing Flix, and actually we have a 1 versus 1 now. It's Dizzy versus Zambi.
He knows where he is. He needs to find this 4th.
Oh, really make your way through. Hope that nothing pops. Randy Savage popping ahead, but Crunchy's got 3. He wants 4 holes. He gets 2. And this could be it. He makes it a hat trick. There's the cleanup. Dizzy Life goes down. CP2 with the final.
So end result, Renegades won it. They got their direct qualification over to the Summer Champs, which is kind of hilarious because they're also the team with the most circuit points. They keep winning every qualifier. So they just really wanted to make extra special sure that they were definitely making it through to this event. And also just taking everybody's prize pools. Great job, Renegades. Make the money. Roy's in. Roy Boy. It seems like the Renegades Sonics rivalry is turning into a pretty fun storyline in these NSG tournaments. Either you guys get to catch some of the games?
I did not get to watch, but I saw a little bit of a recap, which was the most important, I think, just to see like how everything kind of played out. And I love the storyline that's developing, as you mentioned, Sonics and NRG, because Sonics themselves, so this is the Australian team that's basically been relocated to North America, and they've been performing really well. Okay, Sentinels kind of styled on them a little bit in one of the VCT tournaments, but they've been doing pretty well in some of the other kind of third-party tournaments. They just recently won the Pittsburgh Knights monthly, so they've been performing really well for themselves over the last little while. And it's really nice to see them continue to show up. And just a quick point of order on the points thing.
Sure.
So Renegades and Sonic, obviously, they will now qualify to the Summer Champs, but they are allowed to continue competing in weeklies because their points will now work towards seeding. So the more points they have, the better seed they have. But obviously, this will then mean that more teams from the weeklies are able to qualify because you can't qualify twice. So there you go. So they will continue to keep competing. Renegades will continue to attempt to steal everybody's money and rake in those points so that they get the top seed.
I'm just picturing Roy just making it rain after every one of these tournaments.
Honestly.
Just with his strong old legs. I know he doesn't go by the name anymore, but he'll always be strong legs to me. I also love the fact, speaking of three-letter first name players, I love the fact that there's a player on Sonics who's just named Bob. Every time they talk about Bob, so one of the NSG admins, Bob, who happens to live with me at the current time, we are housemates. Every time the casters talked about like Bob pulling off something or like referenced Bob, I just instantly thought it was him. Every single time, threw me for a loop. And if anyone knows Bob, that's a very funny mental image to have. So
there you
go. Let's move on from the monthly. It's cool. They're a lot of fun to watch. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, you look at Renegades, they beat Built by Gamers, they beat U United. We also saw Kuki Koalas in this tournament, who are rumored to be picked up by Dark Zone, so that's exciting. So yeah, like, I think it's easy to sort of look over some of the tournaments that aren't VCT at the moment, because, you know, VCT literally takes up 90% of Valorant esports right now, but there's a lot of things developing just underneath the surface for people to spot. So yeah, it could be good.
It's just fantastic to have things that aren't VCT for the teams that don't qualify through to actually continue to improve and show out and play officials. Yeah. That's a big part of it. And also Summer Champs is going to be awesome. That's just going to be awesome. Yes. I love the branding for it. It makes me think I need to go on vacation. But you know,
good luck.
COVID. So
Breeze, new map.
It'll be our vacation. Yeah, just go to Breeze. Go to Breeze. There we go. Tie-in. Love it. Love the segue. Love the tie-in. We're going to talk about Breeze maybe a little bit at the end if we actually have time. What we're going to talk about right now is we're going to talk about this weekend. This weekend? Next weekend? This weekend. The NA Challengers Finals.
This weekend? Yeah.
This weekend? What day is it?
Potentially.
What year is it?
Does it start tomorrow? We haven't heard anything about it. Is it on this channel? Hello? What's going on?
29th of April.
Yeah, that's
so tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we're not crazy. I'm not crazy. I've just completely lost track of where we are in the calendar. All right. NA Challengers Finals starting this weekend. Power Rankings. Let's talk about our Power Rankings because we did contribute to the NSG Power Rankings. Those are published on nerdstreetgamers.com/news or just nerdstreetgamers.com. You can find them. I'll even post the link in chat right now. I'm just going to slam it. I've got the mod sword, so I can do this without Moobot timing me out. That is my power. But these are the Power Rankings. We helped contribute towards them. It's an aggregate Power Rankings of us and a bunch of the Nerd Street Gamers journo staff. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about our Power Rankings here. Based on the aggregate here, any big surprises for you? Any big outliers here, Ryan?
I think the XSET's been hard done by a little bit. I think it's 5th, isn't it? Like this is a team that has a strong chance to qualify, sure. I think that you can kind of put them and Envy at the same level. Envy's a really good team against XSET. They seem to always have their number. And it really does go to show that certainly those top 4 teams of Exet, Envy, 100 Thieves, and Sentinels, any combination of those 2 teams could qualify. I like version 1, I like Cloud9, and we've spoken about Unbox and NRG already. I just think that they're like a tier below the likes of Sentinels and 100 Thieves, who honestly, 100 Thieves might not qualify, right? But we need to see more of them with Ethan, what they've been working on. It really could surprise who ends up going to Reykjavik. It's going to be an insane tournament that people shouldn't miss. Like, honestly, what the hell are you doing if you're missing this tournament?
Honestly.
Sam?
So I had a couple of deviations as well. So Anbox, NRG, bottom 2, I was the same. And I kind of spoke a little bit about why I felt NRG weren't going to do well. And Anbox, I think I don't want to give in too much to the recency bias. They've done well for now, but I'm kind of thinking more long term. Can they sustain this, particularly coming up against some of these like massive teams? So unfortunately, somebody had to be at the bottom. Then the middle was a bit difficult. So I had version 1, then Cloud9, and then Exet and Envy. Because Exet definitely should have been higher. In fact, when it came to that third and fourth place slot, I couldn't put Exet and Envy next to each other. That's not how this works. So one of them had to be above the other, and I kind of edged it out to Envy a little bit because, again, they have a slightly longer track record of doing well, so I'm going to give it to that. However, when I got to my top 2, I just kind of flipped the script on myself, and I went with 100 Thieves first because, well, why the hell not? And also, I really want them to do well, and also I want someone to put Sentinels in their place because I'm really sick of this lower bracket hero run. So please, 100 Thieves, please. Just please.
So the only difference for my power rankings and these aggregate power rankings is that you swap Exet and Cloud9. I had Exet 4th, Cloud9 5th.
I think everybody had that. I don't know why Exet. Somebody on the journalistic team must be like, I really, really like Cloud9 and the way they look, and just give them
and like
a bit
fairness.
of a bumper.
I think the exciting thing about Cloud9 when you talk about power as a power ranking, because this is projecting future results as opposed to what they've done so far, right? Is that they looked so good while being so new into this 5. Right. So as Floppy gets better, you naturally think they're going to get better. And if you looked at their current form and said, okay, if they get better, they're going to be, in that top 4. I think it's reasonable. I think we need to see a little bit more before we rate them that high. I really do. I know you were saying you want Sentinels to get put in their place. I want Sentinels to qualify through to Reykjavik because I want NA to win Reykjavik. And I'll be completely honest, I think they're our best chance right now. We've just got
I want Sentinels to go to Reykjavik so I can watch FPX spank them. Thanks, Ryan.
There you go. There you go.
I want both of them to go through so X10 from the Southeast Asia region could come in and just bonk on everybody. Nobody would expect that. People will be wondering if there's a gas leak in Iceland or something going on, like the volcanoes.
That would be
screwed in
super
people's
cool
brains.
if a team that just no one had really talked about came out and absolutely smacked. And they're running they're running Brim every comp, and everyone's like, what? Why is Brim the most overpowered? That'd be amazing. It won't happen, but it'd be cool. I also do like that we've got Brimstone holding Silva's bow here for our power rankings. I'm confused, but I like it. It gets the people going. It's titillating. This event's going to be awesome. It's just to lay the scene. 8 teams enter. 2 teams make it through to Iceland. These are 8 of the best teams we've got in North America. Some big names are missing, but some new names are rising through the ranks. This is going to be crazy. So I'm going to say Sentinels make it. Who to say for my second one?
I'm saying Envy. That's mine.
That's my heart.
Okay.
My brain says 100 Thieves, but I think I'm going to go Envy. 100 Thieves with Ethan looks so good, but...
if you're going Envy, I'll go Exet then.
Okay.
Just so we have like all our bases covered.
There we go. Sam, who you got?
Somebody can be right.
Sam, who you got?
I said 100 Thieves and Sentinels were my top 2.
My brain blanked that out. I heard the Sentinels part, and then the 100 Thieves is just rage. No,
I said I wanted 100 Thieves to win the whole thing, so
there you go. Whatever 2 teams shake out of this, I think they're going to be internationally competitive, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. There's been a lot of clowning, particularly from the EU region, of like, NA, so like we're going to wreck them. Like it's going to be easy.
Sorry, particularly from the EU region? Hang on one second.
Yeah.
How many
times has Angel talked shit on NA comps?
Do you watch
This is
the
your
NA
typical
Twitter?
impression of a North American player. They're streaming and they're just like, I just think we're gonna beat Europe.
Yeah.
How
No
many
reason
times does
why.
Angel talk shit?
I
about
just think
NA
it. I
teams,
just
though?
don't. I don't think they're very good. There's some
How
like,
many
rap in
times?
the background and stuff, and they're just like been streaming 10 hours and they're barely focusing. But just Europe, no good. No, that's basically every single North American player on stream.
Yep.
All right. I don't have an argument. You're not wrong. But anyway, I would like to see NA come out. I'm an NA boy. I just am. I'll say it. So yeah, Challenge Finals. Watch them this weekend. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Be sure to tune in. You won't want to miss it. We'll see who's going to Reykjavik, and obviously you watch the EMEA stuff as well. Who cares about other things? Just watch Valorant all day. Time zones don't matter.
Yep.
Just keep watching. One last thing before we close up the show. Breeze is going to be playable at Reykjavik. Breeze is in the game now. I know, Ryan, you've had your hands on the map for longer than any of us. It's going to be playable at Reykjavik. That will be the first time it gets introduced into the pro circuit. Yeah, it's kind of nuts. That's kind of insane. It's kind of crazy balls.
Yeah,
How do we feel about that?
It's so early. They did this with Icebox in First Strike, and it was not great. It wasn't fun. Some teams, there was like a hot take from an observer, I think it was. I think it might have been Yeti. If it wasn't you, please don't yell at me. Who said that, like, if a pro team cannot learn at least baseline strats on a brand new map in 4 weeks, then maybe they shouldn't be considered a pro team to begin with. I'm paraphrasing, something to that extent, which I feel is somewhat valid, but I also feel like pro teams don't want to be kind of sort of baseline. They want to be prepared. They want to come into this tournament knowing I know 100% how this map works, how my agent plays on this map, and what we as a team are going to be doing at any moment. Nothing is going to surprise us. And you don't really have that with a map that's only been in the pool for a month.
Ryan, what do you make of it?
I mean, I get it from a marketing standpoint. It kind of goes in line with the rules that Riot's put down. It's 28 days before a map comes out for it to be a competitive play. It's 26 for Masters, so it's cutting it a bit close to say the least. But it's more, if this was Masters 3, if this was just a random, not a random, but a big tournament, like even First Strike, I'm fine with it. But this is Masters 2, which on the name alone isn't that important. But this is the first ever international LAN we're going to have. We've been able to practice a new agent for 2 months at least. We've been able to practice our latest map, Icebox, for 6 months. I just want to see these teams go into a very volatile state, being an actual LAN against teams they've never played or scrimmed before, and just seeing who's best. I think if you add a map into the fold of that, you kind of get a bit cheesy, like who can exploit the map the most in pick and ban phases, that I think it just takes away from the event a little bit. A show match between players having, like, I don't know, Tens and Angel on the same team playing this map, that would be so much fun. That would be amazing viewership and marketing. I just think adding it into the competitive queue isn't the end of the world, but I would have loved to have seen all of the teams go in with the months and months of prep that they've had into this tournament, as opposed to quickly having to pivot their focus on a new map. I'm not a fan of that as much.
I think I'm just going to echo both of your sentimentalities. Oh, no, Sam hit me with it.
I just wanted to say, for what it's worth, we have no idea how the new veto works. That is yet to be announced. So I saw a couple questions. We don't know. No.
That will be interesting with the 6-map pool veto. But yeah, the whole idea of having your first international tournament is you want to find out who's the best. You want to find out who is the master. You want to find out who is the best of the best. And the way you do that is you remove as many variables as you can so it falls to individual team preparedness and skill. Adding in a map last minute, which I guess this is a month-ish, but it's as last minute as you could possibly be by their own rules, is adding a huge variable. Do I think it's going to get played a lot? No, I think it's going to get banned a lot, but that takes away from the veto process for other teams where you can't decide how you're going to ban as aggressively because you're like, we just don't want to play this. If you're ever favored in a matchup, you probably shouldn't be playing Breeze because that's an unknown. It's a wild card coming in, and that's going to limit what teams can do with their own vetoes. So I don't like it. It's just again, to your point, Ryan, throw a show match on there. That's great. That's a clever idea. Do it with the teams that are eliminated before the finals. We do that sometimes in CS. It works nicely to introduce new maps or explore new potential maps. It's a great idea. In the biggest event to date, in like the first international competition in the lifespan of your game, and potentially the only international competition for a while in the lifespan of your game, because who knows what it's going to be like by the time Master 3 rolls around. Like, we just don't know what might happen and change with the situation this year. Come on, don't throw a curveball in last minute. Still, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I guess adaptability is going to be valued here. As we've seen, the game is constantly going to be shifting and changing with all these new introductions, new maps, new agents, new this, new that, new the other thing. Maybe they'll just nerf everybody the week before and change it that way. That would be classic Valorant right now.
Well, I mean, they've said that they're not doing balance changes, hence why there was no balance changes in this patch that came in with Breeze, because the devs were like, we've got Reykjavik on the horizon, we don't want to rock the boat too much.
That's nice.
So I wish that sentiment was kind of consistent across with the maps as well, you know, but it might be fine. Like, Riot might decide that they don't want to do that anymore. They've been pretty good at quickly reverting now opinions based on customer, consumer, viewer feedback and feedback from the pros and talent and all that stuff. So maybe it changes. I don't think it's going to be the end of the world scenario, but it's just like I really just wanted to go to this tournament on a level playing field. It's volatile enough with the fact that these guys are going to be on LAN, so some teams are going to be much, much better than we've ever seen online, and some teams are just going to be worse. They're going to buckle under the pressure, right? Yeah. So that's enough of a curveball for these teams to deal with. Don't put another one on top of Breeze.
I don't want there to be an asterisk on this result. I don't want there to be any asterisk where it seems like, well, we would have won, but Breeze, you know, we didn't have enough time on it. I want it to be, we won or we lost, and that's it. The one team is going to be the Masters, and they're going to have deserved it 100% of the way. That's what I want to see, and it's a little bit concerning. We'll see how much it impacts, I guess. First, we'll see what teams are actually going through. We're going to find out this weekend. That is going to wrap up our show, though, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to tune in every week at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday when we do air. And follow these lovely people. You can find their ads down below their faces for all that sweet Valorant content to find out where they're next casting. We'll see you next time. Have a good one, everybody. Bye now.